Hey, what's up? This is Anthony Freda. Thanks for listening to the podcast. So yeah, this is Take two. This is BaDumBizz. This is my podcast. Yeah, you'll hear a bunch of rants and raw just opinion. That's just terrible. Listen, the podcast is about me sitting behind my drum set, talking about music, talking about culture, also talking to guests, sometimes musicians, sometimes comedians, sometimes creative artists, whatever. Not whatever, you idiot. See what you're gonna deal with? He's a pretty good drummer though. This is him playing, or this is me playing drums on this track. Not bragging. Anyway, this episode is about me and my background in percussion and my current days as a drummer in the profession and my experience. So I do a lot of playing or a little bit of playing, whatever. Either way, enjoy. BaDumBizz. All right. So I'm a drummer. Been playing for almost 20 years. Percussionist too. Went to college and did all that classical stuff, you know. Timpani and marimba and triangle, believe it or not. Believe it or not, the triangle is quite a challenging instrument. Like, no joke. The level of sensitivity and touch you need for that instrument, man. Whew. And some of the times that you have to hit that triangle, it is some of the quietest moments in music. Very, very, very exposed. And it's one of those things where you might have to hit the triangle, man, like 3 times in 2 measures. And it's very important to the piece of music. You know, if you think about being in a symphony orchestra or something, and that triangle, you know what I mean? You hear it, but it's not like the most noticeable in-your-face sound. But if you don't hit it, you're fired. If you miss it, you're done. Goodbye. Get another guy. Seriously, actually, that's happened to me in rehearsals where I went to hit it, this very delicate, triangle hit, and it's so exposed and you miss it or something like that. It's a very nerve-wracking instrument, actually. You know what else is actually classically speaking is the crash cymbals. You know, one cymbal in each hand. There's an actual technique to this crash cymbal thing. If you hit them flat on, it just sounds like, it's not like the that you need, that beautiful, brilliant kind of whoosh, So you have to practice that shit. I know people go, oh, I was in band and years ago and I played the triangle. Yeah, I'm not good. Some of the best percussionists in the world can rip at the triangle. And you know what? Actually, another instrument that is, again, really difficult. People think it's, let's give it to our, the guy who can't play that well, let's give him the tambourine. Well, let's give her the tambourine. She sucks. He sucks. Whoever it is. They just want to be part of it. So give him the tambourine. Okay. So not that type of tambourine when there's a hole in the middle, but the tambourine you ever see the tambourine that has a drum head on it? So that type of tambourine, and you're supposed to hold it flat-ish, and you kind of tap it with your fingers or with your hand. And there's all these techniques to you could do a tambourine roll, which is here. I have drums in front of me, by the way. Welcome to the podcast. This is BaDumBizz. I'm a drummer. I'm sitting right behind a drum set. I just have a mic. So anyway, back to the tambourine. Imagine a tambourine roll, right? Kind of like, right? But usually you would shake the tambourine, right, to get it kind of rattling. But sometimes that is so damn loud because you're playing with maybe the part in the piece is being played with alongside of a passage with flutes and clarinets, some upper woodwinds or some violins, and it's just super, super, super delicate and, I'm going to use that word again, exposed. You as the percussionist have the power, unfortunately, because it's not good power, it's scary power, to be the loudest thing in the room if you're not delicate. So with that tambourine anyway, because it's so damn loud to shake it and go and do that rattle, these motherfuckers, they're so good. They'll lick their finger, their middle finger, and then they'll push their finger, sort of like rub the excuse me, the drum head. I've been fighting a cold for the last 2 days, by the way. Happy Halloween, everybody. My Halloween was inside nursing a cold. All right, back to the story. They would rub their finger on the head and create this friction, which would create this like rubbing. I'm going to try to do it on my kind of like that. I don't know if you could hear that. You probably can't. But anyway, so they would do that on the tambourine. In between playing, they'll play like I mean, it's insane. And I had to practice that shit, man. It was quite challenging. So anyway, so I have that background too. I went on a whole tangent already about nerding out about classical percussion. I'm going to be coming off the mic for a second, just a cough. Apologize. All right, I'm back. So yeah, like that little tangent I just went on, that's kind of what I want to do this podcast, because I want to talk about all the sort of inside baseball, in-depth things from the perspective of a drummer and a percussionist in like, if you want to call it the industry or whatever. Now, the classical stuff that I did was mostly in college, but I mean, the level of skill that we were trying to attain from our professors and the expectations above us were quite high. So let's get into some of the topics I want to talk about. So, like one of the best things I learned doing classical percussion was all right, you have to show up to your rehearsal, right, knowing your part, knowing how to play your part. And honestly, up to speed if you can, up to the tempo of the piece, which means you might have gotten your music the week prior, let's say. And now for the first rehearsal, you're expected to be able to play that part. So what do you think that means? That means you have to get your ass in a practice room. And you have to go over that part, man, until you get it. And that's 7 days to do that. You know, you might have to pump in an hour a day for a damn tambourine part or for a damn timpani part. And then, you know, all the things of like, oh, we're in college, you know, you have access to instruments, stuff like that. You know, you got to kind of like work together as students to kind of like, oh, I'm going to get the room for, you know, for an hour this day, or I'm going to get the, you know. So you kind of, it was a great experience in that regard, because it taught you how to work with people on a level of like, man, if we don't do this, if we don't work together right now, even though we might not like each other right now, we got to work together. If we don't, we're gonna fucking get chewed out by our professor, by the conductor. Yeah, and that's not good, because you'll be replaced, man. Goodbye. At least in the real world. I mean, if you really slacked in an ensemble college rehearsal thing, college level group, yeah, I could see them. I remember there was a couple people that were just like, I mean, it was just, they weren't doing shit. They weren't doing pulling their weight at all. So they were just like, you're out. Goodbye. Kick them out of the ensemble. Yeah, and so I'm kind of saying that to kind of like show you, man, the pressures of being like I mean, specifically a percussionist, man. Oh man. And as a drummer, you know, this kind of drummer. So that kind of drummer, like you know, anything in your sort of pop music world, rock, funk, hip hop, anything like that, you know, it's a little different. The pressures are different, you know. You have to. I gotta say, I think as a drummer versus a percussionist in a classical setting, at least, your expectation, while it is very high, I think it's pretty clear. You know, there's a lot of I don't know. I think that there's a lot of examples, recordings, and stuff. Like there's a tradition behind a lot of the pieces that you'll play. So let's say you're playing like Scheherazade or something, or oh man, this is where I'm gonna sound stupid because I can't remember a lot of the pieces that I played, but I played a ton of pieces in in our wind symphony and the orchestra, and yeah, there were just these like Rhapsody in Blue, anything kind of what's his name? See, there you go. I already forgot. Oh man, this is great. This is great. What the hell is that? Rhapsody in Blue. Who did that? American composer. Jeez, American in Paris, whatever. You know, if you know it, say it out loud. And okay, if you don't, look it up. Google. I don't care. Anyway, those pieces are so iconic to the history of classical music that you can go and find a recording. The recording could be from the 50s of this amazing orchestra. It could be like New York Philharmonic or something like that. It could be from the last 20 years, 10 years, and you'll have a very clear reference of what your expectation is, what your part's supposed to sound like. Now, because you might be playing like a timpani part or tambourine part or something like that, or even a snare drum part. Think about it. You're doing one thing. On drum set, however, though, you got to remember that for drum set, obviously you're moving like four limbs a lot of the time, 3-4 limbs. Your hands, your feet. Bass drum with your right foot. And then your right hand is doing something like this on the hi-hat. Snare drum's doing, and then you put them all together. And you're now coordinating all these things all at once. Now, getting those coordinations together is quite difficult at first. I mean, without a doubt. A lot of people who say, "Oh, I always want to be a drummer," because I'm a teacher, and I hear this all the time, especially from adult students. They'll go, "Oh, I've always wanted to play drums, and I'm finally taking the step. But then, so they're in their first lesson with me, and the first thing they say to me is, "But I'm so uncoordinated." And the first thing I tell them, because they're adult students, I say, "By the way, I want to just say that thing about you saying you're uncoordinated is BS, complete bullshit." And they're like, "Huh?" And they're almost like taken back by that. And I go, "Hear me out." I said, you haven't been shown how to coordinate, how to think about this stuff. Of course, if I tried to, sprint fucking a mile, of course you wouldn't see me at the finish line. Of course, a quarter of the way through, if that, you'd see me at the side, of the road puking. Of course, because I didn't get anybody's input on how to go about it, right? So yeah, as a drummer, the actual coordination is difficult at first. When you get the coordination, you're able to put patterns together. That's, believe it or not, I mean that's still not enough, because it's like this. If you live in the New York area, or even East Coast, New Jersey, even Boston and whatever, you pretty much know what good pizza is. That's if you don't order from Domino's and Pizza Hut and Papa John's. Ugh. God, I wish I had a soundboard for just somebody vomiting. That's not pizza, man. That's like fast food shit, dude. Like, would you order fast food sushi? Right? Some people would. But most people, if you really know anything about sushi in terms of its quality, yeah, you wouldn't order fast food sushi, right? So, yeah, in that regard, pizza is the same way. So the dough has to be prepared a certain way. The sauce on the pizza has to have a certain flavor to it. The acidic nature of the tomatoes with maybe the floral herbal essences of the basil, maybe. There's some people like oregano. Some people like some thyme in there. You know what I mean? The garlic. Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. Now I'm drooling thinking about this. So it's the same way on the drum set. You have to hit the hi-hat a certain way. You have to hit the snare drum a certain way. And like it might be not every hit is going to be the same. Some hits are going to be softer than others, right? And then it's got to be so consistent in terms of the rhythm and the timing that a feeling is produced, and sort of like this energy, like this. Imagine when you turn on. Here's a good one. Imagine when you turn on your car, right? You put the engine on. Now it's running. You back up, and then you just press the gas, and you're on your way. You're not thinking about putting all of those things together, all of those pieces together to just get the car running. You just, in your mind, these automobiles are so brilliant that we just hit the gas. It's so simple. That's what it has to feel like when you play drums. It has to feel like that. So there's a lot of pressure on a drummer to be able to be that vehicle, to be that automobile where you have your band members in your car and you are driving. You are driving them. You're moving this vehicle, right? And the road is the music, is the song. Now, if you are driving them in a goddamn monster truck, right? Meaning you're playing like, I hope that was like uncomfortable, because that's my point. If you're playing like that way on a singer-songwriter song, like something softer than an acoustic guitar, you're not doing your job. It doesn't matter how good it by itself sounds. It just doesn't. So there's these like expectations of you have to know. Now, that was my whole point of this whole thing. By the way, that's going to be this podcast, man. Just tangents and getting back on track. So now that we're back on track, classical percussionist has the pressure of like that, right? You have to be super precise. Cool. All right. But drummers maybe have a different type of pressure. And the pressure is knowing how to make the song feel good, feel better, sound better. I mean, it should be like when you start playing, the listener shouldn't be thinking, do I like this? That's really the goal. It should be like they should just be moving to it or nodding their head. That's really the ultimate goal. Humming to it even, like, you know, picking up the lyrics and starting to sing the next chorus the next time it comes around. Believe it or not, the drummer is part of that process. You are an ingredient on the plate, right? You are an ingredient of that pizza, right? Now, the only way to attain that knowledge, man, I got to tell you, is, first of all, the number one thing. And this is in my experience, and maybe others, you know, I'm okay with being challenged on these things I'm saying, but like, I think listening, deep listening to the I'm going to call it the distant details, right? Those details that are not in the picture. They're not, if you're looking at a photo, like if the photo is of a bunch of people standing and smiling, posing for a picture, what's in the background of that picture? What's behind them? Oh, they're in a backyard and there's woods behind them. What's back there? Oh, look what there's some bushes and, oh, look, there's like an apple tree. You know, I'm just rambling here, but that's the kind of, you want to know, you have to deeply listen to that song, to that music, to really pick up trends. That's really what you're looking for too, right? And now, depending on what kind of music you're listening to, genre-ish, you know, rock, even like pop music from the 80s is different from pop music from the 90s, and so on and so on, and so forth and so on, and I don't even know how to say that, whatever. You know, there are these trends that you could pick up on, these consistencies. Once you start remembering and storing. Oh, I just hit the mic. See, I'm really bad at this already. I got a mic in front of me. A drummer with a mic in front of him is dangerous. It's one of those things. If I walk in a room and there's a band playing and I see a drummer with a mic in front of him or her, I get nervous. I go, oh God, am I going to walk out? Am I going to want to walk out in 5 minutes? Then the whole night is me fighting. Oh, no, just give him a chance. Nah, fuck this. I don't want to listen to this bullshit. All right, anyway. Back on track. So, picking up the trends of what a drummer does in certain musical situations, stylistically, right? And there, man, I got to tell you, there are so many of these, from jazz, right, all the way to fucking bluegrass, even to like what Questlove does on the Tonight Show. He's a great example, actually, of a guy so detailed. He, as a drum set player, he became such a detail-oriented drum set player. He's a guitar player. He plays anyway, that was lame. A drum set player. A drummer, Anthony. Move on. He, as a drummer, was so detail-oriented because he was playing hip-hop, and he was replicating drum machines, pretty much, or samples even, right? Something like... That was my trying to fill in the rapping of a song. So it was great. It was great. Yeah, but did you see how the beat stopped and then and then I came back in with the snare drum on count 2. Right? This is all 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I'm sorry, I was so wrong. It was count 4. So sorry. So yeah, that's like a typical hip hop thing. I picked up on that shit just from listening. Like I would hear, and it, who knows where the hell I was listening to hip hop, but when I was a teenager, and I didn't really listen to hip hop, but I would hear it from like, I'd be getting a haircut and a song would come on, and I'd pick up on all these trends. Like, I like this beat. I don't know if I like this song, but I like this beat. That was always the thing. I'm different now. I actually am way more open-minded, but that's one of those trends. Like now, if you're listening to, let's say, this new hip hop stuff, I'm gonna grab something. All right, I just got one of my trinkets here, so I don't know if you can hear that, but if you listen to the new hip hop stuff, like the trap stuff. I'm pretty sure all of you know that type of beat. It could be even faster, like. Now, even that's those, I guess, 808. I guess that's the 808 drum machine hi-hats, and that's a very consistent thing you hear in the new trap hip hop stuff, which is like they make the speed of the hi-hats like, and you'll hear different, all that kind of stuff. So those little details, right? They help make the song special, interesting, definitely interesting, without a doubt. Those little details, yeah. As a drummer, you kind of learn the trend of that. Now, what's really cool about nowadays, and is very exciting, the last, like, I would say, decade of drumming has been very exciting. I've always been a drum nerd, so I'm always kind of looking at, what are the top drummers doing? Now, when I started getting into this stuff when I was a teenager, I think the top drumming stuff that I kept seeing a lot in the drum community, we'll say, with the internet, passing videos back and forth, posting, videos on like a forum or something of a drummer playing. A lot of it was like Dave Weckl, and you'd see a lot of Vinny Colaiuta and Steve Gadd and Vinny Colaiuta. I absolutely love those drummers. Dave Weckl, I used to love too. As I've gotten older and developed my taste more, I like Vinny and Steve Gadd way better than Weckl. And no dissing Weckl. Weckl's an insanely good drummer. Talk about consistency and clarity. He plays like butter. It's the smoothest stuff, and his time is impeccable, right? Now, I could say the same for Vinny and Steve Gadd in a certain light too, but those two, like Steve and Vinny, are known for playing with like mainstream pop and rock and like icons. Like I know Vinny has played with Sting. Steve Gadd has played with like, he's on so many recordings of like was it Paul Simon, and I can't think of their discography right now, or whatever the hell that is. Either way, but the point of this was to show you what the trend was in the drum community. It was like a lot of licks, a lot of fills, big drum sets, double bass drum patterns. Like Thomas Lang, for instance, when he came out with his like first DVD or whatever, this guy had like 6 pedals, man, below him, dude. He had a snare drum turned sideways, and then there was a pedal attached to it. And he had multiple hi-hat cymbals, pedals, and then multiple bass. I mean, Jesus Christ. And now I'm like not judging him like, oh, this fucking guy. Because then he discovered something. He had an interest. He fucking went with it. Was playing like 7 patterns with his feet or whatever, and then like 5 patterns with his incredible technician. And I'll say his execution of everything he played was fucking insanely consistent in time. Incredible the patterns he would do. I would never succeed in some of those patterns he did, because I don't know. I don't know if I have it in me to get that coordinated, right? But that stuff, I can even throw out like Marco Miniman was a guy I remember. Thomas Pridgeon, I kind of remember like being one of those types, just flying on the drums. I could probably name a bunch more, but that was the trend. In the last decade, for sure, maybe even a little more, it has changed and shifted. So here's what I think happened. I think with drummers, when electronic music, like sample-based music, or even that technology, but even drum machines and stuff, when that started to become more of a go-to production tool for making albums, making especially hit songs, like for pop music, when drummers basically started to be replaced by these drum machines, and the studio working drummer, started, when those jobs started to disappear, and the guys who were the most known, like people like Steve Jordan stayed working. You know what I mean? For instance, he's an incredible drummer, huge influence on me for sure. He changed my life. His DVD changed my life for sure. People like him. I think Vinny still did a lot of studio stuff. So anybody who was like super consistent and easy to work with, I imagine, kept getting work. And if you were, not anywhere close to as high up on that ladder, you didn't get work, apparently. Now I've heard this from conversations from drummers older than me, more experienced. What do you do in that situation? If it's like, if it's like the year 2000, right? Or probably it might have even started in maybe slightly prior to the new millennium. But if you're a drummer, and give me a sec. If you're a drummer and you've been working, or you're trying to get into that industry, and now the work starts to go away, what the fuck are you supposed to do? Right? We didn't have access to the software like we do now.
So I have an iPad next to me. My iPad is linked up to my music recording software, my musical recording software, Logic, on my MacBook, which is across the room. And I'm looking at a monitor screen, and I can control everything from this iPad. This technology did not exist then. On this iPad is GarageBand, an app, music software, and I can create beats like that. You have no idea. And like, is it the 110% best quality? No, but it's still pretty damn good. That shit didn't exist. You know, even on your laptop, even on your desktop computer, you needed a powerful machine to be able to run that software effectively. And then even the hardware that you needed to plug your, let's say, your mics into or whatever, your compressors and all that stuff into, it wasn't very accessible. You know, there was a knowledge base that you needed to attain to be able to do that stuff. So for these drummers, man, I know you could feel for them in a way like, geez, what do you do? So anyway, back to the point was in the last 10 years, because of this, I'm going to say individuals, because I don't know if it was collectively. I think individuals out there were like, you know what, fuck it. Because they were like, this music that's coming out, being created with drum machines, while it is putting us out of work, it's cool as shit. You know, like that trap stuff I played before. You know, I mean, like, if I heard that then, and I was a working drummer, but losing work or trying to get work, I heard that. I mean, as much as I'd be like, oh, God, I probably could have played something like that. But I would have been like, that sounds cool, though. And I like the sounds that they picked and those very tight, like, that was terrible. Those 808 snare drum sounds, those 808 bass drum sounds, like they're very they're very trending to that music, and you almost kind of could say like, wow, man, without those particular samples and sounds, would it have been as successful? So these drummers started to go, you know what, that is cool. I'm going to try to learn that stuff. I'm going to try to play like that. So the you know, like if they started, let's say, I mean, I'm trying to create a situation in my mind of like what would have happened, but like with the Questlove is a great example of this. They had band members like a bass player, keyboard player, guitar player who are incredible and were able to recreate things on the spot, kind of like they do on the show, on the Tonight Show. They're able to play anything right now. They know the instrument so well that they know their craft so well. So Questlove having to create these hip hop beats, man. Like, oh man, let me try to get one. That's just an example that came to my head. That may not be a specific thing, but that he did. But that came to my head. That would be something that you would hear, like a sample of a beat from a song. And I feel like, and it started happening to me too, I started to go, man, that sounds so fucking good. I just want to learn it. I mean, I don't know what I would do with it, but most of the people I were playing with, it was more rock-oriented music, or even they were trying to do some like funk stuff, but no one was trying to do electronic sounding music, inspired music, or even hip-hop sample inspired music. Another example of this is I love like drum and bass and jungle type music. I love those beats. Oh my God, they're so cool. But like, this is an example, right? I loved it so much, and they sampled the drummers from the olden days in the 60s and the 70s. You should look up the Amen Break. The Amen Break. Look that up. And there's a band called the Winstons that were sampled over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. This beat. Actually, it really sounds like this. Right? Drum and bass is faster, though. And it even got even faster than that. And then eventually they learned how to like manipulate the beat to get. So I won't play it because I'll probably fuck it up. But instead of boom boom got boom boom got, they would learn how to like repeat certain things. So it was like boom 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 got. Let's say boom boom. Let's say they cut it up. So they press the button. Boom 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 boom. If I tap that button, boom 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 boom, it would just start it over and over again. So even like got, you know what I mean, or whatever. So boom boom got, boom 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 got, boom boom got. That's what they learned how to do on with the software, right, or with the drum machine. So a drummer named like Jojo Mayer, for instance. I got a cough again. Give me a second. Drummer named Jojo Mayer learned how to, oh, wow, you can hear the sickness in my voice. He learned how to do that stuff just by listening deeply, listening to those details and trying to recreate those details in real life and manifest it on the drum set. And it takes an incredible amount of skill to be that detailed and consistent. And now you go check him out, Jojo Mayer and Nerve. Holy shit, man! I've been checking them out for like almost a decade and going to see them live in the city, New York City. Incredible shows. They improvise. Based on loose structures or loose ideas, and all inspired by electronic music. It's all their original material, but again, inspired by electronic music. Absolutely incredible. So anyway, individuals like him, Questlove, and I'm going to name a few more names. Chris Dave. Chris Dave is, I would say he's very known for playing with D'Angelo, touring with D'Angelo. And I know him from Robert Glasper Experiment. I'm sorry. Robert Glasper Experiment. Derek Hodge on the bass, Chris Dave on drums, man. Holy shit, those two. And then obviously Robert Glasper on keys. But holy shit, man. So that guy was able to recreate a lot of cool ideas in terms of like doing hip hop stuff and electronic oriented beats. Like I want everybody to go and just go type in Chris Dave drums and just have fun. You're welcome. You're welcome. Go watch some videos of him playing. He is absolutely incredible. Nate Smith is another guy that comes to mind, and not in terms of the last like 10 or maybe 10 years, but like he kind of sprung about like as this was all bubbling up. I mean he's been playing for a long time, but he's one of those guys. Like when I started seeing his viral cell phone videos, basically, he was playing with a guy. Oh man, what was the guy's name? Jose James? Is that am I right? Am I right about that? Anyway, that guy was a singer, vocalist, and he was playing for this guy, and he'd have this incredible band behind him. Nate Smith. Nate Smith? Did I say that? I hope I said that right. Nate Smith on drums. Yes, he would give Nate Smith and like a drum solo. Take a drum solo. Now, Nate Smith could have easily been like one of these drum solos, like just started jerking off and playing licks that nobody in that audience understands. No, he would do shit like what's one of his beats? I saw him do this a couple weeks ago on a video. It was like I don't even know if I was able to recreate that in the best way. Definitely not. Why did I even say that? Definitely not. Go check him out. But yeah, he was able to. So that is like this type of hip hop sound, like almost like a break beat, what they call it. Break dancers would if you can imagine break dancers, right, doing their thing, spinning around on their head or whatever. That would be the type of beat, and he was able to recreate that. And again, the details and the consistency. It's all in the details and the consistency. Incredible. And let me try to think of at least two more drummers that helped get to where I'm basically talking about, this where we are now in terms of like being a drummer on the drum kit, what you're sort of expected to do. Let's see, another drummer. I would say Mark Juliana. Yeah, Mark Juliana is very cool at like. He's a different type of drummer. When I saw him, I was like, this guy is doing shit I've never seen with barely any gear. I'd see him with a kick, snare, hat, a floor tom with like a thing on it. It could be, and it would be like a little bell or something like that, or a trinket, you know. I mean, and then like he would have one cymbal, like a ride cymbal and a crash or something, maybe like a small pair of hi-hats, but no rack tom, you know. And what he would do with that small setup, I no joke, till the day I die, I could say this as a truth. I had never heard patterns being played like what he did on that small setup. And I'm going to say this, but remember I was talking about back like 20 years ago, and when I started as a teenager, the trends of the drum community when I was a teenager was licks, big drum sets, like you got to have 6 toms and 2 floor toms and 3 rack toms, whatever, and then all these trinkets and roto toms, cool, yeah, totally, and double kick. I got to tell you, the patterns that when I started seeing Mark Juliana play, I had never seen anything. So I'm going to try to find the right word to describe this. But while I would see these bigger drum set, lick-oriented drummers play some incredible shit, don't get me wrong. I could sit here and say I can't play any of that crap. But I don't want to play any of that stuff. That's another point too. But I would see that and I go, that's incredible. But then when I saw years later, Mark Juliana started to really get hot. Anything he was a part of, playing with Now Versus Now with Jason Lindner, his own project, Beat Music. He played with, that's that guy, Avishai Cohen, bassist. That's more jazz, but he would be playing these patterns that I had never heard, ever. And especially with those other guys who were playing licks, the guys who are known for playing all this technical shit and part of that trend. So as soon as somebody like Mark Juliana sits on a 3-piece drum set, kick, snare, and floor tom with some cymbals, and he starts playing shit that you've never heard, that just to every drummer goes, oh, okay, all right, we all got too comfortable. We all forgot about, it was almost like we all forgot how to make music. You know what I mean? We all have been trying to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with fucking like almond or nut butter and jelly sandwiches and jam sandwiches with like some fucking fancy ass, like this is a reduction of peanuts and almonds and cashews and with a pomegranate, blueberry, and acai berry. No, just take the fucking local peanut butter and the fucking jam and nice pieces of bread. You know what I mean? Like back to the roots of where the drum set started, just the way he was able to create new patterns, I guess is the way he practiced. And if you buy his book, he goes into it in detail. Pretty cool, actually. He was able to create patterns that were sort of like it was like a new language on the drums. And now by the way, I didn't even get to this part yet, is that he would do this while improvising like with a group. And they're playing a tune. And so this would be, and he would be holding down a groove, but he would be improvising in and out of this groove. You would never not be rocking your head while he was playing. The music never ceased to be energetic and have a groove or a pulse. And it stimulated the conversation among the musicians, which is a whole other topic. I'll do on episode 2, probably get into that, which is having conversation on stage with people you're playing with and communicating. But he flipped everything on its. I feel like he flipped everything on its head. Same with somebody like Zach Danziger, definitely too. So, and then anyway, the whole point I was talking about electronic music influencing and sampled music influencing drummers and blah blah blah. With Mark and his group Beat Music, he definitely went down that road of replicating sample based music and was hugely successful. I remember going to see him in that group Beat Music, Rockwood Music Hall, Stage 2, years ago, multiple times, and fucking it was incredible. So that's where we're at now as drummers. Now you have drummers like, these individuals have given birth to a new community, a new thriving community. Now with social networking, and social media platforms such as especially Instagram, man. YouTube obviously is like sort of social, but being able to put up content, I guess is what I mean. You have drummers. I'm going to throw out a bunch of them. Brody Simpson is like the first guy I think of. He is I think he's from Australia. I think he's like an audio engineer. I think too. He's got that. He can record like really great sounding drums, and he not only knows how to do that, but like in your traditional sense, but he also knows how to create drum tracks that sound like they were samples on a hip hop or electronic music tune. And his consistency is incredible. Incredible. And the patterns that he puts together would have me doing a lot of homework, man. A lot of homework. So yeah, he's very inspiring in that regard. Let's try to think of some other drummers that have blown me away in terms of that type of world. I said Nate Smith, right? Yes. I'll just try to think of, because you'll be hearing me think, going, I'm gonna just think one or two more. All right, I'll say, I think, excuse me. So sorry. I think, Lewis Cole from Nowhere. Great band. Fun band. Never seen a band like that, dude. Never seen a band. Never saw video content like that, dude. Go check them out. Super special. Super unique. There will only be one Nowhere and Lewis Cole. Go check him out. But yeah, very good drummer. And he's very good at replicating electronic sample inspired drum beats. Really good. Him, and then I thought of one more, and I'm gonna play something at the end. Just something that just to play for you. And that'll be the end. I think they call him Lenny the Ox. Lenny the Ox. I forget his last name, but just go type that in, Lenny the Ox or something like that. Drummer. Oh my God. I saw his videos at a moment where I thought, okay, there's nothing new. And then I saw his videos. I'm like, fuck, was I wrong? Yeah, he doing really crazy, I'm gonna say glitch beat type things, which means, when you're listening to music and you hear like a beat. I'm gonna try to beatbox. I like to beatbox a lot, by the way. I'm always doing it. I do it when I don't know I'm doing it. But let's say you're hearing. I don't know how well you're going to hear that, but there were these things in there that I could have kept playing the beat and just kept that going, but there were these like decorations of like imagine going in and out of consciousness in terms of like a dream state where you're just like, you're here and you're having a conversation with somebody, and all of a sudden you trip out and go into some weird like fucking extraterrestrial world, and then you're there for a second like, what the fuck, and then you're back into the conversation. Imagine that visually, and that's what the music kind of sounds like, but it's super consistent, and it doesn't interrupt the pulse of the music. That is, by the way, this is my interpretation of what Lenny the Ox does on the drum set, and it doesn't even scratch the surface of what he does. You got to check him out. Really cool, really inspiring shit. Totally made me go, okay, got to get back to work. I don't even know where to start, but yeah. So that's where we're at now in terms of drummers. And I feel like the expectation now is different. So the expectation, while it has always been the same, ready? This is what has never changed. Serve the song. Serve the music that you're playing and the musicians you're playing with. Know your role. Your role is support. 100% support. And that means playing dynamically. Oh my God. The most important thing. Do not play loud for the sake of playing loud. Have a wide dynamic range. Because you might have to while out and play. I mean, I just went from really loud to very soft. But that could have been the end of a chorus into a second verse or a third verse or something like that. And then the voice goes from screaming. That's how I sing. To like this. Right? That's how I sing. But in terms of the volume, and as a drummer, you have to ride those waves. You have to read that wave, kind of like I imagine what surfing is like. I've tried it and I suck. It's hard. It was like a wrestling match between me and the waves, and I just was being fucking body slammed constantly. Until I almost vomited from the motion sickness of the waves. That's a true story. So yeah. So anyway, you have to learn how to read where the music's going. This could all, depending on what type of music you're playing, if it's jazz oriented, any sort of improvised thing, it could all fluctuate depending on the decisions that whoever you're following, singer. Most of the time, especially if the singer's playing an instrument and accompanying themselves, like on piano or guitar, yeah, you have to be present. So support, make a structure, create a structure around the singer, the melody, the harmony, the riff, pattern, rhythm, vibe. All these words, really, honestly, you could use all of them. And if you're a pro level musician, and you understand what I'm talking about, you're like, yep, he's right. And if you don't know, if you just play as a hobby, just start to try to listen that way for with the words that I'm using, right? Try to listen that way, deeply listen. Listen to trends. Try to pick up trends. That will make you better. Developing your ear will absolutely make you a better musician, without a doubt. So that's the role of a drummer. That's the expectation. And nowadays, you are sort of expected to be able to sit in musical situations like groove-oriented situations. And hey, man, give me something like. I've had people go like, hey, man, can you give me something like. Do you know that song "Flashing Lights" by Kanye? I'm like, yeah, of course. Can you give me a beat kind of like that, or a vibe kind of like that? And now I have to go and first of all, I have to know that song. Like that number one is a reference I should know. Most drummers, I think, should know it. because in terms of the beat, it is unique, very unique. Fucking really cool, man. Really cool. As much as I don't really like Kanye as a person, he seems like a fucking asshole to me. That his beats are cool. His production is cool. Same with that song Power. Very cool. But yeah, you need to be able to recreate these trends. The better that you are at that type of stuff, the more we'll call it. If you were what's that thing called? A pocket knife or Swiss Army knife? Yeah, the more attachments that you have, right? And key fucking point here, because what will separate us as Swiss Army knives, as drummers, will be we could say, oh, I have this big fucking drum set with all these fucking useless things. Oh, wait, you didn't want... I have 6 different pitches on toms. You don't need that for your singer or songwriter song? I have 2 kick drums. No, you don't need that. It's a Swiss Army knife, basically. I have all these things. It's like, motherfucker, that shit doesn't matter to the song. So the Swiss Army knife idea is more towards like, what can you do? What can you provide? What appendages do you have on that Swiss Army knife that is useful musically, right? And that could be trying to, this is a cool thing I really like, but you turn the snares off like this, right? I'm going to reference Bernard Purdy for what I'm doing here. So I'm playing cross stick, but I'm also, these are my fingers, right? So cross stick is, just go look it up, but if you don't know what it is. But I'm playing this hi-hat beat, hi-hat, kick snare, hi-hat beat. I don't know if you were able to hear that, but I'm doing all these fancy little like ghost notey things in between the main hits of the snare, which is right. And it's going in between what the kick drum is doing, the hi-hat, and then obviously those rim hits. So those little fine little details, right? If I'm really slick with it, let's see if I can. All right, here's where we get interesting. Give me a second. These big fat snare drum things, by the way, they're definitely not a sponsor. I'm nobody, but these things are fucking amazing, man. Listen to that. I just put this big fat snare drum on my snare. This is what it sounded like before. And now with it on, it lowered the pitch, man. If I put the snares on, listen to that. Here's with it off. And then with it on. So cool. So anyway, what I would do is... Here, I got a cool thing I'm going to do. Give me 1 sec. Here we go. All right, so I got a tambourine thing. Now, I'm going to play. I wanted this like kind of sound. So, this is what's in my head right now. Let's say the beat was like Sorry, that whole time I was trying to like put together this pattern in my head. So I had a beat in my head. I was trying to recreate it. But anyway, the point was, I'm trying. Anyway, if you get the gist. But I had these textures. I had these like certain sounds in my head that somebody who was a producer would have just went on their fucking laptop and into their music software, and they would have picked out those sounds specifically and then just arranged them in you know. But the thing is I and this is how I'm going to wrap this whole thing up. I, as a drummer now, and I think other drummers, I'm definitely not alone. And I'm so glad I'm not alone because I think it's an amazing time to be a drummer. There's so much opportunity. We've been sort of given a gift, which is from those individuals that all of them I mentioned: Jojo Mayer, Mark Juliana, Chris Dave, Questlove, Nate Smith, and all. I'm sorry if whoever I can't remember anymore, but they've given us a gift in just being fucking pioneers and being ballsy and putting in the fucking work, man. Is that now we could think as producers, as drummers. There's no fucking reason why, as we're not beat makers. There's no reason why a drummer cannot become a beat maker. You know, there's no reason why. The difference though is we still think like drummers, but beat makers and producers who weren't drummers making beats weren't. This is an interesting sort of thing, and this is where I think we were blessed. They didn't think like drummers, meaning they didn't think with my right foot is my kick, my left foot's the hi-hat going up and down, and then my right hand's going to play on this, and my left hand. They weren't tied with four limbs. They could do whatever they want. They can have as many layers as they wanted. So that's really cool. So as drummers, we were challenged in that way of like, okay, well, let's say there's 6 layers, but I have 4 limbs. So what are the most important? This is where that deep listening comes in, that detail-oriented listening. Excuse me. Goddamn cold. Every fucking November I get cold. I get a cold, man. And guess what? Today's November 1st. So anyway, they were not tied to thinking about 4 limbs like we are. So we now have to hear their beat, right? And okay, there's 6 layers going on here, but I only have 4 limbs. What can I do? So what are the most important sounds that are sticking out? And what are those sounds that are really, they're there, but they're not important to the groove? And then you kind of trim the fat, as Dave Yelich likes to say. Great drummer, great teacher. Trim the fat of what's not important. And now you're still, don't get me wrong, you're still going to be faced with a challenge in terms of the coordination. And not only that, but remember what I was talking about before, at the very beginning, which probably was 3 hours ago, it feels like. So sorry. Which is you get the pattern and you get the coordination, but that's still not enough, right? You still have to make that thing feel like a moving vehicle, like a working, dependable moving vehicle. It can't sound like something that needs to go back to the shop. It can't feel like that as a beat. So, excuse me. So, there's a lot of groundwork to do. There's a lot of practicing to do. But I look at it as opportunity. It's not work. It's sort of opportunity, right? And now with the ability to upload your own content to the internet, I mean, Jesus Christ, you know, you're giving sort of this community of drummers are giving each other ideas and inspiring new ones, and it's beautiful. It's an absolutely beautiful time to be a drummer. So, anyway, that's kind of where drummers are at today. That's what the expectations and the trends of being a drummer, that's where we're at. And it's a good place to be because it has to do with, and here's, again, the main point. It has to do with what does the music require? Culturally, what is happening musically? What is required of not just drummers, but rhythm, dance, or music to inspire dance and movement. What are we looking for? What do people expect culturally now? And maybe this will change in like 5 years or 10 years. But right now, if you're really paying attention, man, and staying present, you could pick up on this stuff. And just because you play the acoustic drum set, it doesn't mean that you can't be a beat maker on your instrument. And that doesn't mean that you can't be, by the way, notice how I didn't talk about how, producers aren't tied to their limbs like we are, but we also think about music way differently. And so I imagine there's a small alleyway in between the two buildings where we own as drummers, as technicians, as we actually have to physically play these things, and we can't just loop something and just sit back and listen to it. We actually have to play it over and over and over and over again, and listen to it as we're playing it. So that there's a whole skill there that's developed that I imagine a producer doesn't have to develop. No, and I'm not talking shit, but I think that's the truth, and that's why I think drummers and producers work well together. If they personally can get along, then they will work well together for sure. We definitely speak to each other. We inspire each other. I can't tell you how many producers, people who make beats I've talked to, and I've met along the way, who have played me examples of their music, or I've heard their songs, and was just like, "Holy shit, dude, I love what you're doing." And then they would hear me play, and they're like, "Dude, what the fuck are you doing? Oh my God, I really love what you're doing, man. Holy shit, I didn't expect that." And that's, I think, another thing too. Can you bring something new to the table when it comes to being a drummer nowadays? Can you sort of if the expectations are 5 things on the list, can you bring 8 things? And now the people you're working with are like, "Holy shit, this is fucking awesome. This dude or this chick brought, this is all we needed, and now we also have these other things available to us because of the work they did." And that's what it's really about. By the way, if there's no passion behind what you're doing on the drum set, then maybe maybe you won't care about this stuff. But if you're passionate about it, those people who can't turn the funny off, they're always joking around, always, doing riffs and shit, and being silly. I love those people, by the way. And there's so many comedians. I'm a big comedy fan. There's so many comedians I can think of right now who are like that. That is me when it comes to drums and music, or music. Let's be honest, music. I think music. I think about music more than I think about drums. How about that? But I can never turn it off. It's constantly going. Even if I'm hearing some acoustic music, where it's just a songwriter and their guitar or piano, all of the things those details that I would listen to, the same thing. I would listen to those details on those songs too. So I'm always thinking about trends or picking up, storing these on my brain hard drive, these trends that I hear, and then it inspires my creative juices. You know what I mean? So be a musician before you be a drummer. I think that's maybe the best advice that I have for you. Be a musician. Don't just be a drummer. Be a musician. Listen to the other parts. Listen to the bass, listen to the guitar, listen to the piano, listen to the synth patch that's on there, listen to the swells and the fucking for effect, and listen to the what kind of they have this cool reverb on the vocals, listen to all that shit. Just note that it's there. Store it. It will help you. Somewhere along the lines it will help you. All right, and I think that's it. This podcast has been brought to you by Floating Cymbals. There's a Kickstarter out right now for Floating Cymbals. It's a new technology. Instead of simple stands, you just throw your cymbals up in the air and they hover, man. It's a fucking dream. It's a dream of mine. And then once they get the floating cymbals off the ground, no pun intended, then we're gonna have floating drums. So no hardware at all. It's gonna be great. Right now you gotta go online though and you gotta donate. They got to raise about $1 billion. So go pay them. And then the projected date of release is 2035. So get on it, everybody. And also, this has been brought to you by Single Origin Coffee. Oh, delicious. I love single origin coffee. By the way, those aren't sponsors. They're just jokes. Yeah, this was BaDumBizz episode 1. Thanks. My name is Anthony Freda.